What if I told you there is a secret tax on everything you buy, designed to keep you poor and in debt forever? It's called planned obsolescence. It's why your phone slows down and your appliances die the moment the warranty expires. This isn't bad luck. It's a conspiracy that started in a smoke-filled room in 1924 to engineer failure into every product. They decided quality was a crime. They forced engineers to sabotage their own inventions just to make you buy them again. From Apple to your refrigerator, corporations are treating you like a renewable resource to be harvested for profit. I'm going to show you the leaked documents that prove they are stealing your time and money on purpose. Stop falling for the trap. Watch this video to see how the system is rigged and how to finally stop paying the price.
What if I told you there's an invisible tax on everything you buy and you don't even know you're paying it? I'm not talking about sales tax or VAT. I'm talking about something far more insidious, something engineered into the very fabric of modern capitalism, hiding in plain sight for nearly a century. You've felt it. Every time your phone mysteriously slows down right when the new model drops. Every time your printer stops working after exactly the number of pages the manufacturer decided was enough. Every time you find yourself replacing something that your grandparents owned for decades. You've felt it, haven't you? That nagging suspicion that things aren't breaking by accident anymore. They're breaking on schedule. Here's the disturbing truth most people never discover. In 1924, the world's largest light bulb manufacturers gathered in secret in Geneva, Switzerland, and they conspired to make their products worse. Not better, worse. These weren't rogue criminals operating in the shadows. These were respected corporations. Philips, Osram, General Electric, the titans of industry. And what they did that day would change the nature of business forever. They looked at light bulbs that could last 2,500 hours or more. Light bulbs their own engineers had perfected, and they made a calculated decision to sabotage them. Reduce their lifespan to just 1,000 hours. It wasn't a technical limitation. It wasn't about cost. It was about control. It was about forcing you to come back again and again to buy the same thing you'd already purchased. This cartel called themselves the Phoebus Cartel, and what they invented was far more dangerous than a defective product. They created the perfect business model, a model that would spread like a virus through every industry you can imagine. The concept was brilliantly evil in its simplicity. Design failure into the product itself. Make it good enough that people will buy it, but fragile enough that they'll have to replace it. Create a perpetual cycle of consumption where you never actually own anything permanently. You're just renting it until the predetermined expiration date arrives. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover connects directly to your wallet, your debt, and the reason you feel like you're always struggling financially even when you're doing everything right. This wasn't just about light bulbs. The Phoebus Cartel pioneered what we now call planned obsolescence, the practice of intentionally limiting a product's lifespan to guarantee future sales. And here's where it gets truly dark. They documented everything. Internal memos prove they knew exactly what they were doing. They tracked durability. They fined members who made products that lasted too long. They turned engineering excellence into a crime. Think about that. The better you made your product, the more you were punished. Quality became the enemy. Durability became a threat to profit margins. Now fast forward to today. That light bulb conspiracy didn't die with the Phoebus Cartel. It metastasized. It became standard operating procedure. It became the invisible DNA of modern capitalism. From your smartphone to your refrigerator, from your car to your clothes, planned obsolescence is the hidden tax you pay on everything. And the cost isn't just financial, it's your time. Working extra hours to replace things that shouldn't need replacing. It's the mounting debt from constant consumption. It's the psychological trap of believing you want the latest model, when really you've been forced into needing it because the old one was designed to fail. This is why so many people feel perpetually broke, despite working harder than any generation before them. In this video, You're going to discover exactly how this conspiracy evolved from a secret meeting in Geneva to the business model that now dominates Wall Street. You're going to see how planned obsolescence connects to corporate power, political corruption, and a system that treats you not as a customer, but as a renewable resource to be harvested indefinitely. What you're about to learn might shock you, because the parallels between this legalized racket and organized crime are impossible to ignore once you see them. But before we dive into how deep this rabbit hole goes, you need to understand where it all began, and why a cartel of light bulb manufacturers holds the key to understanding the hidden tax you've been paying your entire life. Let me ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself. When was the last time you replaced something and thought, this shouldn't have broken yet? Maybe it was a phone charger that frayed after 6 months. Maybe it was a laptop that became unbearably slow right after the warranty expired. Maybe it was a washing machine your parents bought in the 90s that lasted 20 years, while yours didn't even make it to 5. You've felt that frustration, that sense you're trapped on a treadmill of endless replacement, working harder just to stay in the same place. If this is resonating with you right now, hit that like button. I know you hear that on every video, but here's why it matters for content like this. When you engage, you're pushing back against an algorithm that would rather show you the next shiny product to buy than explain why you keep needing to buy it. Your engagement is a signal that people want truth over advertising. That's a powerful form of resistance in itself. Drop a comment below and tell me what product you had to replace that you knew shouldn't have failed so fast. Was it a phone, a car, an appliance? Because here's the thing, you're right when you say they don't make them like they used to, but it's not nostalgia. It's engineering. It's intentional. And when you share your story in the comments, you're not just venting, you're documenting evidence. Every comment becomes part of a collective awakening to what's really happening. If you're new here, this channel digs into the hidden architecture of power, money, and control. We expose the mechanisms operating behind the curtain of everyday life. This isn't conspiracy theory. This is conspiracy fact. And if you want to understand how the world really works instead of how they tell you it works, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Channels that challenge corporate power don't get promoted by the algorithm. We get buried. So when you subscribe, when you share this video with someone who needs to hear it, you're actively spreading information that powerful interests would prefer stayed hidden. Here's my promise. If you stick with me through this journey, you're going to start seeing the world differently. You'll walk through a store and recognize the manipulation. You'll look at a product launch and see the obsolescence already built in. You'll understand why you're in debt, why you're always replacing things, why the treadmill never stops. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. But you can't fight what you don't understand. Knowledge is the first weapon in resistance. So let me know in the comments. Are you ready to see how deep this goes? Because what we've covered so far, the Phoebus cartel, the light bulbs, the conspiracy, that's just the origin story. Now we need to trace how this poison spread through the entire economy, how it became not just accepted but celebrated, how it connects to the biggest players in global finance. We need to talk about what happened when planned obsolescence met Wall Street, when the model of break it to replace it became the foundation of shareholder value and quarterly earnings. We need to connect the dots between that meeting in Geneva in 1924 and the phone in your pocket right now. Now I want to go even deeper, because this story reads like a corporate thriller, except it's all real, it's all documented, and the consequences are still playing out in your life right now. Let's go back to 1881. Thomas Edison created the first commercially viable light bulb. Those early bulbs lasted about 1,500 hours. But here's what most people don't know. By the 1920s, engineers had perfected light bulbs that could last 2,500 hours or more. Some experimental models were hitting 3,000. The technology was there. Light bulbs were getting better, more efficient, more durable. And that was the problem. Think about it from a business perspective. You're a light bulb manufacturer in 1920. Your entire revenue model depends on people buying your product regularly. But what happens when your engineers get too good at their jobs? What happens when they create a light bulb so reliable that customers only replace it every few years instead of every few months? Your sales plummet. Your shareholders panic. You've engineered yourself out of business by making your product too good. That's the paradox at the heart of modern capitalism. Quality became the enemy of profit. So in December 1924, something extraordinary happened in Geneva, Switzerland. Representatives from the world's largest light bulb manufacturers, Philips from the Netherlands, Osram from Germany, General Electric from the United States, gathered for a secret meeting. These were giants of global industry controlling the vast majority of the world's light bulb production, and they made a decision that would fundamentally alter the relationship between manufacturers and consumers for the next century. They formed the Phoebus cartel, named after the Greek god of light. Ironic, isn't it? Named after a god of illumination, but their purpose was to keep everyone in the dark. The public story was standardization and shared technical knowledge. The real agenda was far more sinister. These corporations, supposedly competitors, colluded to artificially limit the lifespan of their products. They looked at light bulbs that could last 2,500 hours and made a calculated decision: reduce them to 1,000. This wasn't about reducing costs. It was pure, calculated sabotage to guarantee perpetual sales. They created technical committees to test bulbs from member companies. If your bulbs lasted longer than 1,000 hours, you were fined. If you made a better product, you were punished. The cartel turned quality into a crime and durability into a violation. They weaponized engineering standards not to improve products, but to make them deliberately worse. Here's the truly disturbing part. They documented everything. Internal memos from the Phoebus cartel still exist today. These weren't vague discussions. This was systematic conspiracy with paperwork, protocols, and enforcement mechanisms. One memo from 1925 explicitly discusses the problem of bulbs exceeding the 1,000-hour lifespan. Another outlines the fine structure for companies that failed to sabotage their products adequately. They created an entire bureaucracy dedicated to making things worse on purpose. Imagine being an engineer at one of these companies. You've spent years learning how to make a filament that burns brighter and lasts longer. And then your bosses tell you to make it worse. Make it fail faster. Your entire professional purpose deliberately corrupted. But you do it anyway, because the cartel demands it, and the cartel controls the industry. This is where the transformation happens. Before Phoebus, the goal was to make the best product possible. After Phoebus, profit required failure. A product wasn't successful if it worked well. A product was successful if it failed at exactly the right moment to generate the next sale. They turned malfunction into a business model. The genius part, if you can call it that, was how invisible they made it. When your light bulb burned out after 1,000 hours, you didn't think you'd been sabotaged by an international cartel. You thought you needed a new light bulb. You accepted it as normal. That's the real power of planned obsolescence. It hides behind the facade of natural product failure. It makes you think you're experiencing bad luck when you're experiencing calculated industrial sabotage engineered down to the hour. The Phoebus cartel operated openly until World War II disrupted international business. But by then, the damage was done. They proved you could deliberately make inferior products, conspire with competitors, sabotage quality, and become wildly profitable doing it. They wrote the playbook every industry would eventually follow. You were paying for technology intentionally made worse. This wasn't a glitch in the system. This was the system functioning exactly as designed. The inner workings of corporate power revealed a dark truth. They don't want to sell you something once. They want to sell you the same thing forever. Comment down below and tell me this changes everything. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. Because what started as a light bulb conspiracy in 1924 didn't stay contained to light bulbs. It metastasized. It spread through every industry like a cancer, transforming from a dirty secret into standard business practice. The playbook that Phoebus wrote became the foundation of modern consumer capitalism. The transformation was so complete that most people don't even realize they're living inside the trap. What happened after World War II was crucial. The Phoebus cartel formally dissolved, but the mentality survived. Engineers didn't forget what they'd learned. Business schools started teaching it. Planned obsolescence stopped being a conspiracy and became a discipline. By the 1950s, American corporations were openly discussing death dating, the practice of engineering a specific lifespan into products. They calculated the optimal failure point with scientific precision. They turned product failure into an exact science. This wasn't happening in back rooms anymore. This was being published in business journals. Brooks Stevens, an influential industrial designer, gave a speech in 1954 defining planned obsolescence as instilling in the buyer the desire to own something a little newer, a little better, a little sooner than is necessary. Notice the language. It's not about making products that fail. It's about making you want to replace things that still work. That's the psychological evolution. They don't just engineer product failure anymore. They engineer consumer desire for replacement. Fast forward to today. The revelations are everywhere once you know what to look for. Take printers. In the early 2000s, consumers started noticing something strange. Perfectly functional printers would suddenly display error messages and refuse to print. The culprit was chips embedded in the printers, programmed to count print cycles and artificially trigger failure after a predetermined number. These chips didn't measure actual wear. They counted uses. Your printer wasn't broken. It was programmed to pretend to be broken so you'd buy a new one. When exposed, manufacturers claimed it was for print quality. Internal documents revealed the truth. It was about forcing upgrades. Then there's Apple. This one pulled back the curtain on planned obsolescence in modern history. Users complained for years that iPhones became mysteriously slower after software updates, particularly when new models were about to launch. Apple denied it. They said it was user perception, confirmation bias, until independent researchers actually measured it and proved it was happening. Apple was deliberately throttling the performance of older iPhones through software updates. When confronted with undeniable evidence, Apple claimed it was to preserve battery life. But they never told users this was happening. They never gave people a choice. They just silently degraded the performance of devices people paid hundreds of dollars for. And conveniently, the solution was to buy the newest model. The impact was massive. Apple faced lawsuits worldwide. In France, they were fined and criminally investigated for planned obsolescence, which is illegal under French consumer protection law. In the United States, they settled a class action lawsuit for $500 million. But think about what that settlement means. Apple makes over $90 billion in profit per year. A $500 million fine is a rounding error. It's not a deterrent. It's a receipt for a profitable scam. And it's not just tech. Look at appliances. Your grandmother's refrigerator from 1975, still running. The one you bought 5 years ago, already replaced. Studies have documented this decline systematically. The average lifespan of major appliances has dropped by roughly 60% since the 1970s. Washing machines that lasted 25 years now struggle to make it to 10. Refrigerators, dishwashers, dryers, all designed with cheaper components, weaker materials, and complex electronics that are expensive to repair and impossible to fix without proprietary tools. The fashion industry took this to another level entirely. Brands like H&M, Zara, and Shine produce clothing literally designed to fall apart after a handful of washes. The fabrics are thinner, the stitching is weaker, the dyes fade faster, but it's not incompetence, it's intentional. They've calculated that if clothes last too long, you won't come back. So they engineer disposability into the garment itself. Your shirt isn't poorly made by accident, it's poorly made by design. Here's the mathematics of the trap. This is where it gets truly sinister. You think you're buying a product, you're not. You're unknowingly subscribing to what I call a forced repurchase cycle. Say you buy a laptop for $1,200 designed to last exactly 4 years. You're not paying $1,200 for a laptop. You're paying $300 per year for access to laptop functionality. But unlike a subscription where terms are transparent, this is a hidden subscription embedded in the product itself. You're locked into a payment plan you never agreed to, for a service model you never consented to, with a vendor you can't escape because every vendor plays the same game. The journey from Phoebus to your pocket has been carefully orchestrated. Each generation of products gets more sophisticated in how it implements planned failure. Software updates that slow devices. Batteries sealed into phones so you can't replace them. Proprietary screws requiring special tools. Digital locks preventing independent repair. They've built entire ecosystems designed to make repair impossible and replacement inevitable. and the courts have proven it's real. Beyond Apple, there have been settlements and investigations into printer manufacturers, appliance companies, and electronics brands. The European Union passed right to repair legislation specifically because planned obsolescence had become so pervasive. These aren't conspiracy theories. These are court documents, regulatory findings, and corporate admissions. Write in the comments if you see it now. Let's get personal now, because we need to talk about what this actually costs you. Not in abstract corporate terms, not in theoretical economics, in real dollars coming out of your actual bank account. Let's do the math on the hidden tax you've been paying your entire life without realizing it. Take your smartphone. The average person in the United States replaces their phone every 2 to 3 years. Let's be generous and say 3 years. You're paying somewhere between $800 and $1,200 for a new phone each cycle. That's $400 per year minimum, just for phone replacement. But here's the revelation that should make you angry. The phone you're replacing isn't actually broken in any meaningful sense. The hardware is fine, the screen works, the processor is still capable. What happened is that software updates made it unbearably slow. The battery mysteriously degraded faster than it should have, or the company simply stopped supporting it with security updates. You felt forced to upgrade. Now imagine if that phone was designed to last 6 years instead of 3. Same $1,200 purchase price, but spread over twice the lifespan. You'd be paying $200 per year instead of $400. That's $200 per year saved. Over a decade, that's $2,000. Over a lifetime of 50 years of phone ownership, that's $10,000 from one product category. 1. Now multiply that calculation across everything else. Your laptop that needs replacing every 4 years instead of lasting 8. Your appliances that die after 7 years instead of 20. Your clothes that fall apart after a season instead of lasting years. Your printer, your headphones, your coffee maker, your TV, your furniture. Every single product category where planned obsolescence has infected the design process is costing you double, triple, or more than what you should actually be paying if things were built to last. When you add it all up, you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars per decade. Over a lifetime, you're potentially talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. Money you paid purely because corporations decided durability was bad for business. But the impact goes beyond just replacement purchases. There's a hidden cost that's even more insidious: your time. Every time you need to replace something, that's hours of your life you'll never get back. Hours researching which product to buy next because the last one failed prematurely. Hours going to the store or waiting for delivery. Hours setting up the new device, transferring your data, learning new interfaces, dealing with compatibility issues. Hours on customer service calls trying to troubleshoot something that was designed to fail. And here's the truly dark part. Where does that time come from? It comes from your life. And to afford all these replacements, you have to work more hours. You're literally trading your life energy for products that were sabotaged on purpose. You're working extra hours to pay for forced consumption. Those hours are gone forever. Then there's the environmental catastrophe nobody wants to talk about, honestly. Electronic waste is one of the fastest growing waste streams on the planet. 50 million tons per year and climbing. Most of it ends up in landfills or shipped to developing countries where it's processed in dangerous conditions, leaching toxic materials into soil and water. Why is e-waste growing so fast? Because devices are designed to be replaced constantly. That phone you throw away every 3 years contains rare earth minerals that required strip mining mountains. It contains materials extracted through supply chains involving human exploitation. And it ends up as toxic waste because the company that made it decided it should fail after a predetermined time. The environmental cost of planned obsolescence is literally destroying the planet. And you're being forced to participate in that destruction every time you replace something that shouldn't have broken in the first place. Now let's talk about debt, because this is where the psychological trap becomes a financial prison. Credit card debt in America is over $1 trillion. Consumer debt overall is astronomical, and a huge driver of that debt is the constant need to replace things. When your washing machine breaks and you can't afford to replace it outright, you finance it. When your laptop dies and you need it for work, you put it on a credit card. When your car requires repairs costing more than the car is worth because it was designed with cheap components, you finance a new one. Planned obsolescence doesn't just cost you the purchase price. It costs you interest payments, financing fees, and the psychological stress of carrying debt. It traps you in a cycle where you're always behind, always catching up, always one broken appliance away from financial crisis. But here's the truly brilliant manipulation. The psychological warfare that makes this whole system so effective. They've convinced you that you want to replace things. Think about how smartphone launches are marketed. They create hype, anticipation, a sense that you're missing out if you don't have the latest model. They make the new one seem essential, revolutionary, a status symbol. And meanwhile, your current phone that was working perfectly fine 6 months ago is mysteriously sluggish, and the battery barely lasts half a day. Is that a coincidence? Or is it a carefully orchestrated nudge pushing you toward the decision they want you to make? You think you're making a free choice to upgrade, but the choice was engineered, the failure was planned, the desire was manufactured. You're not a consumer making rational decisions in a free market. You're a target in a psychological operation designed to extract maximum revenue by manufacturing both product failure and consumer desire for replacement. This is the truth corporations spend billions in advertising to obscure. You are not a customer to be served. You are a resource to be harvested. You're not buying products. You're enrolled in an involuntary subscription service where renewal comes through forced obsolescence. You're not participating in capitalism. You're trapped in a system specifically designed to keep you on a treadmill of perpetual consumption, perpetual replacement, perpetual debt, and perpetual dependence. Every marketing campaign telling you about exciting new features is hiding the sabotage built into the old model. Every product launch is covering up the planned failure of what you already own. And the most frustrating part? Most people never realize what's happening. They blame themselves. I guess I should have bought the more expensive model. I probably didn't take good enough care of it. Technology just advances so fast these days. They internalize the failure as personal, rather than recognizing it as systemic. They accept the burden of constant replacement as normal rather than seeing it as engineered extraction. That's how deep the mentality shift has gone. Planned obsolescence doesn't just change products, it changes how you think about ownership, durability, and value itself. Drop a comment and tell me if you've been paying the hidden tax. Here's where we need to follow the money, because we need to talk about who actually profits from this system. This is where things get really dark, where the parallels between corporate America and organized crime become impossible to ignore. Because when you follow the money, when you trace who benefits from planned obsolescence, you're not looking at engineers or salespeople or even CEOs in isolation. You're looking at Wall Street. You're looking at shareholders who demand infinite growth from a finite planet. You're looking at a financial system that requires perpetual consumption to survive. Here's the uncomfortable truth about modern corporate structure. Companies aren't run for the benefit of customers or employees or even long-term sustainability. They're run for quarterly earnings reports. They're run to satisfy shareholders who will dump the stock if growth slows for even a single quarter. And how do you generate growth when you've already saturated your market? When everyone already owns the product you're selling? The only answer Wall Street accepts is forced replacement. Make things break faster. Create artificial needs. Engineer dissatisfaction with perfectly functional products. Planned obsolescence isn't a bug in the system. It's the feature that makes infinite growth possible in a world of finite consumers. Think about what this really means. Shareholders don't care if your phone lasts 3 years or 10 years. They care about revenue growth. They care about stock price appreciation. They care about dividend payments. And all of those things require you to keep buying. The incentive structure of modern capitalism actively punishes companies that make products too well. If you create something that lasts forever, you kill your own future revenue stream. Wall Street will penalize you for it. Your stock price will drop. Activist investors will demand management changes. You'll be labeled as a company with no growth prospects. The entire financial architecture is built to reward planned obsolescence and punish durability. Now let me make a comparison that might seem extreme at first, but becomes clearer the more you think about it. Consider how the mafia operates. They come to your business and say, "Pay us for protection." You pay not because you're getting anything of value, but because if you don't pay, something bad will happen. It's not a voluntary transaction. It's extortion dressed up as a service. Now look at planned obsolescence through that same lens. Corporations essentially say pay us repeatedly for the same functionality because we've designed your product to fail. You pay, not because you're getting anything new or better, but because if you don't pay, you lose access to something you already had. Your phone stops working. Your printer refuses to print. Your appliance breaks down. You're paying a perpetual replacement fee to maintain access to functionality you already purchased once. The parallel goes deeper. Just like criminal organizations operate in territories where they've eliminated competition through intimidation or collusion, corporations operate in markets where they've eliminated meaningful competition through consolidation and coordinated behavior. A handful of companies control each industry. They don't compete on durability because none of them want to set that precedent. They've tacitly agreed, just like Phoebus explicitly agreed, that making things last too long is bad for all of them. It's a gentleman's agreement enforced through market dynamics rather than secret meetings in Geneva. The transformation from explicit coordination to implicit coordination doesn't make it less real. It just makes it harder to prosecute. And speaking of prosecution, let's talk about the corridors of political power and why this system remains legal despite being fundamentally predatory. Why aren't there laws requiring products to meet minimum durability standards? Why can corporations deliberately sabotage their own products without consequence? The answer is lobbying. Corporate lobbying functions as legalized influence, and it works exactly as designed to protect corporate interests over consumer welfare. These same companies that profit from planned obsolescence donate millions to political campaigns. They fund think tanks that produce research defending their practices. They employ armies of lawyers who write legislation that gets introduced as if it came from elected representatives. They've captured the regulatory apparatus that's supposed to protect you from exactly this kind of exploitation. When right-to-repair laws get proposed, when consumer protection legislation is introduced, when anyone tries to mandate durability standards, corporate lobbies descend to kill the bills or water them down into meaninglessness. And it works because the system is designed to make it work. Politicians need campaign funding. Corporations provide that funding. The exchange is implicit, but consistent. You want evidence? Look at how long it took for even basic right-to-repair laws to pass, and how limited they are even now. Look at how companies fought against letting people fix their own devices. The impunity is built into the structure of power itself. So let's lay out the parallels explicitly, because they're striking when you see them all together. Criminal enterprises create dependency through control of essential services. Planned obsolescence creates dependency through engineered failure and control of replacement products. Criminal enterprises operate in groups that eliminate competition and coordinate pricing. Corporations operate in oligopolies that coordinate through market dynamics and industry standards to avoid competing on durability. Criminal enterprises influence law enforcement and political systems to maintain operations. Corporations influence regulatory agencies and legislative processes to maintain legal protection. Criminal enterprises use intimidation to enforce compliance. Corporations use market power, litigation, and lobbying to enforce compliance. The mechanisms are different, but the underlying pattern of exploitation is identical. Here's the question we need to sit with. What's the difference between Wall Street and organized extraction? One has legal protection. One wears suits to work in Manhattan skyscrapers instead of operating out of back rooms. One makes political donations instead of under-the-table payments. But the fundamental model of forcing people to pay repeatedly for the same thing through coercion, whether that coercion is physical intimidation or engineered product failure, follows the same logic. The hidden truth is that we've legalized a form of economic extraction and called it capitalism. And the most disturbing part is how normalized it's become, how accepted. People understand intuitively that corporations are taking advantage of them, but they've been conditioned to accept it as inevitable, as just the way things work. They don't see it as a choice that was made, as a system that was designed, as a form of organized extraction that could be different if we demanded it be different. The mentality shift is complete when people stop getting angry and start just shrugging and pulling out their credit cards again. Let me know in the comments if you think Wall Street runs the same game. Here's the thing. After everything we've covered, you might be feeling overwhelmed, maybe even powerless, and I get it. When you realize the scale of the system, When you understand that planned obsolescence isn't some isolated corporate misbehavior, but the fundamental architecture of modern consumer capitalism, it's easy to feel like there's nothing you can do. But that's exactly the mentality they want you to have. Resignation is profitable. Acceptance is what keeps the machine running. So let me be clear about something. You're not powerless. You're not helpless. But you do need to be realistic about what individual action can accomplish and what requires collective resistance. The first and most important step is consciousness. Just by watching this video, you've already started that transformation. You now see the game being played. You recognize the manipulation. You understand that when your device mysteriously slows down or your appliance breaks right after the warranty expires, it's not bad luck or coincidence. It's design. That awareness fundamentally changes your relationship with consumption. You can't be manipulated as easily by marketing that tries to manufacture desire for replacement. You can't be gaslit into thinking product failure is your fault. You see through the psychological operation because you understand the mechanics behind it. Consciousness doesn't immediately change the system, but it changes you. And that's where all meaningful resistance begins. From that consciousness, you can make different decisions. Start with buying less. I know that sounds simple, almost naive, but it's actually radical in a system that requires perpetual consumption to survive. Every time you resist the urge to upgrade when your current device still works, you're refusing to participate in the extraction. Every time you question whether you actually need something or whether you've been conditioned to want it, you're breaking the psychological programming. Ask yourself honestly, is this purchase about genuine need or manufactured desire? Am I replacing this because it's actually broken, or because I've been nudged toward feeling dissatisfied with something that still functions? Those questions, asked consistently, can dramatically reduce how much you spend and how much you participate in the planned obsolescence cycle. When you do need to buy something, choose differently. Look for products with longer warranties. Companies that stand behind their products with 5 or 10-year warranties are signaling that they're not participating as aggressively in planned obsolescence. Research brands that design for repairability, that provide spare parts, that publish repair manuals. Companies like Patagonia in clothing or Fairphone in electronics are explicitly rejecting the planned obsolescence model and building durability into their brand identity. Vote with your dollars for companies that respect you as a customer rather than viewing you as a resource to be harvested. Yes, these products often cost more upfront, but remember the math we did earlier. A $1,500 phone that lasts 6 years is cheaper than a $1,000 phone that lasts 3 years. You're not spending more, you're spending smarter. Support the right to repair movement actively. This is one of the most important consumer rights battles happening right now, and it's directly challenging the corporate power structure that protects planned obsolescence. Right to repair legislation would require manufacturers to provide access to spare parts, repair manuals, and diagnostic tools so that independent repair shops and consumers themselves can fix products instead of being forced to replace them. Apple, John Deere, and other massive corporations are fighting these laws with everything they have because they understand that repairable products threaten their forced replacement revenue streams. When right to repair bills come up in your state or country, contact your representatives. Tell them you support it. Show up to hearings if you can. This is where individual actions can aggregate into genuine political pressure. Let's talk about repair itself, because this is where you personally break the cycle most directly. Every time you choose to repair something instead of replacing it, you're refusing to participate in the scam. Your phone screen cracks? Get it repaired instead of upgrading. Your laptop battery degrades? Replace just the battery instead of buying a new machine. Your appliance breaks? Find a repair person, or learn to fix it yourself using YouTube tutorials and online repair communities. I'm not saying this is always possible. Corporations have made repair deliberately difficult, expensive, and sometimes impossible. But when it is possible, when you do repair instead of replace, you're doing something genuinely subversive. You're rejecting their business model. You're keeping something out of a landfill. You're saving money. And you're proving to yourself that you're not as dependent on their replacement cycle as they want you to believe. Now let's be honest about systemic change, because individual consumer choices alone won't dismantle this system. We need legal and regulatory intervention. We need laws that ban the most egregious forms of planned obsolescence. We need mandatory minimum durability standards for products. We need penalties for companies that deliberately sabotage their own products through software updates or embedded failure components. The good news is that this is already happening in some places. France made planned obsolescence illegal in 2015. The European Union has passed sweeping right-to-repair regulations and eco-design requirements that mandate repairability and longevity. These laws exist because people demanded them, because consumer advocacy groups fought for them, because the political pressure became impossible to ignore. That same process can happen in the United States and everywhere else, but it requires collective action. It requires treating this as a political issue, not just a consumer preference issue. Join or support organizations fighting for consumer protection and environmental sustainability. Organizations like iFixit, the Repair Association, and various environmental groups are doing the hard work of lobbying, educating, and mobilizing around these issues. Your membership, your donations, your voice added to theirs, creates the kind of power that can actually challenge corporate lobbying. This isn't about being a perfect ethical consumer. It's about being an active citizen demanding that the rules of the game change. Here's the truth I want you to understand. You're not going to single-handedly destroy planned obsolescence. You're not going to bring down Wall Street's growth-at-all-costs mentality through your individual purchasing decisions. But you can stop feeding it blindly. You can stop being an unconscious participant in your own exploitation. You can make decisions that reduce your personal cost, your environmental impact, and your psychological entanglement with consumption culture. And when you combine your conscious choices with political engagement, with supporting systemic reform, with joining collective movements, you become part of something that actually can challenge the power structure. The impact of what we've covered isn't just about saving money or understanding corporate manipulation. It's about reclaiming agency in a system designed to strip you of it. It's about recognizing that the powers behind the scenes want you passive, compliant, and constantly consuming, and deciding that you're going to be none of those things. Type in the comments if you choose awareness over compliance. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, first of all, thank you. Seriously. This wasn't light content. We went deep into some uncomfortable truths about how the system actually works, and the fact that you stayed with me through all of it tells me something about who you are. You're someone who values understanding over comfort. You're not looking for easy answers or surface-level takes. You want to know what's really happening behind the curtain. That's exactly what this channel is about. So if this kind of content resonates with you, if you want to keep exploring the hidden architecture of power, money, and control, hit that subscribe button. This channel exists to pull back the layers on topics most people never think to question. We dig into the mechanisms that shape your economic reality, the systems designed to extract from you, the connections between corporate power and your daily life. And I promise you, if you found this valuable, there's a lot more where this came from. Every video is built to give you tools for seeing the world more clearly, for understanding the game being played, for making decisions from a place of awareness instead of manipulation. Before you go, drop a comment and let me know you made it to the end. Just write, "I see the system now." I read every comment, and honestly, knowing that this information is landing, that it's connecting with people who are ready to hear it, that's what keeps me making these videos. Your engagement isn't just algorithm fuel. It's confirmation that there's an audience out there hungry for truth, tired of being treated like passive consumers, ready to think critically about the world we're living in. And if this video gave you a new perspective, if it changed how you see your own consumption habits or made you question things you used to accept as normal, leave a like. That simple click tells YouTube that this content matters, that people want substance over fluff, analysis over entertainment. It helps this video reach more people who need to see it. I know you've got a million things competing for your attention right now, but there's a video right here that takes what we covered today even further. It connects these dots to an even bigger picture. So click on that next video and keep this journey going. Once you start seeing how these systems work, you can't unsee it. And honestly, that's a good thing. Awareness is the only real power you have in a system designed to keep you in the dark. I'll see you in the next one.